Hello, in this video I am painting Psylocke from Abe 3D. Rotating. I've already primed the model with a brown primer, and I am hitting the shadows with a purple color. Doesn't really show up on camera very well, but it adds a lot of depth. So I'm priming everything that's got skin, focusing on the skin. I'm not worried about the uniform or hair or base at this point. Okay, now I'm going to hit the highlights with white, just a white primer. I'm using a Vallejo urethane primer, but any white will work. I've already primed it. That's just convenient. Kind of doing a zenithal like I did with the shadows, but the opposite. Just hitting high spots. Okay, now I am taking a ink. It's a Liquitex ink. It could be any ink. It could be thinned out paint if you want, and just spattering with a airbrush. You could use a brush for this if you wanted to, do kind of a flicking motion, but I'm just turning the PSI way down on my airbrush to like 4 or 5 PSI, and letting whatever paint's going to come out, and spatter, speckle the skin for some variation. Again, just the skin. Nothing's masked off right now. I'm not worried about any overspray or anything. Okay, now I am going in with the actual skin color, which is kind of a light peach for this specific character. I do a couple of layers of highlights, but I didn't record that because it looks the same as this, so I couldn't think of a reason to show it on camera. Focusing more on the higher spots, places where light would hit, but I'm still covering everything, even the shadows. I'm just not going as heavy there. Okay, now for this, I'm coming in where there are more capillaries and just adding a blush color. Anywhere there are folds or creases in the skin, anything that sees a lot of action, elbow joints, behind the knees, eyes, ears, basically anything that creases. You don't want to be too drastic with this. Just giving lips and, like I said, creases some color. Right around the eyes, the ears, kind of the nose in here. Okay, now I am painting the eyes. Eyelashes, actually, at this moment. You want to take pretty good care not to get anything on the skin. I guess the smart move here would be to varnish the skin first. That way, if you do make a mistake, you can just kind of wipe it off. I'm just being careful not to. Not to go over anything that I've already painted that I do not intend on touching up. So yeah, I'm just going with a black for the eyelashes. I think it's Abaddon black or whatever GW's black color is now. And here I'm just taking some craft paint, purple for the eyebrows. I'm also going to use this for the hair and the irises of the eye. I'm not thinning it out really, I'm just using a wet palette and letting this craft paint do what it's going to do. Once I go to use it for the hair, I will absolutely thin that out. I'll show that process. Someone asked in a video, how do you thin out craft paint for an airbrush? I'm going to show you. There's nothing to it really though. Here I'm just using a little bit of that paint to place the irises. This is not the final paint for the iris. I'm just using that as a placeholder. I'm going to paint white for the rest of the eye. And I kind of need to know where to put the paint and where it isn't necessary. So here I'm painting the whites of the eye with some ink. Again, that's Liquitex ink. Most of their line is transparent or translucent. The white and black are opaque, I do believe. It would kind of suck trying to do this with a transparent white. I do have to touch up the eyelashes a little. I get a little heavy-handed with that white. Okay, here I am taking a red wash to go over the eye. The whites of the eye shouldn't be like super vibrant white. Trying to make it look like they're blood vessels. Okay, and I'm coming back in with that purple for the iris. I end up going over this a few times, though I don't show that. You kind of get the, you know, get the point here. Abe sculpts the iris into the model, so just kind of going over it with a wash is kind of all you need. And for the hair, I'm coming in with a craft paint, some water with a little flow aid in it. This flow aid to water ratio is 20 parts water to 1 part flow aid, and however much paint you need to make it the consistency of like a whole fat milk. I don't show it here, but filtering this paint through a paper filter before you put it in the airbrush is pretty helpful. I didn't do it. I mixed it up pretty well, but it's very helpful to do that. Keeps little lumps that you missed when mixing the paint from clogging up the airbrush. And now I'm just putting on the base coat of purple. I did prime the hair white as opposed to red. This purple would have a hard time showing up on that red primer, or at least I'd have to do quite a few more coats. I'm also going to add a little black to the purple for the shadows, which is what I'm doing right now. For the highlight, I didn't show it, but you're better off going with a pink, adding a little pink to the purple as opposed to white. That just kind of makes it look flat when you just add white to the purple. Pink adds a little vibrancy. Okay, I'm painting the uniform. I use that term loosely. It is a little more than a swimsuit, but hey, party on, ninja, X-Man. And I've masked everything off. I didn't show that process. It's kind of a bitch to do. Kind of a bitch to film. So yeah, I didn't record that. Coming in with a blue-black mixture. It's pretty thin, but it gets pretty good coverage. I'm just going over everything. It's going to act as the shadow color, but it also acts as a pretty good base over the primer. After you get coverage on everything that's the uniform, like solid coverage, come in for the I'm hitting everything. I haven't been showing much of the arms or certain parts for random things. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how to paint this, not necessarily go over every single step of the process. I can, but then it's going to be a 2-hour-long video. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. In fact, I have no idea how long these videos should be. Videos in this genre tend to range from 5 or 10 minutes to 2 hours. I just kind of don't know what I'm doing yet as far as video making, obviously. But yeah, everything just gets a dark blue base. After that, I come in with a zenithal highlight. I'm just using white. That base color is pretty dark. It's almost black. So going over it with white and then going over that with blue for like full coverage of everything will give a nice blended, highlighted, shadowed coat. So yeah, I'm just hitting the all the edges that would be highlighted from a light source. Arm making an elusive appearance. Okay, now I'm coming in with the actual uniform color. Just kind of a cerulean blue, or yeah, it's not an ultramarine. It does dry darker than it looks here. I'm just going over the whole part, even the shadows. Kind of help blend everything in. The arm just hanging out in the bottom corner of the screen. Not the best cameraman either. I think I'm getting better though. Not sure. But yeah, seriously, let me know in the comments section if there's anything I'm missing as far as filming goes. Anything you would like to see that I'm not showing, because I don't know what I'm doing. I know how to paint relatively well, or at least okay, but I do not know how to make videos. I'm trying, but here we are. This is what I've got. So if you've got any suggestions, lay them on me. Again, just giving everything full coverage here with this blue. It does dry a bit darker than it looks. Okay, now I am going to make an oil wash. Bobby Boy, Bob Ross paint. You do not need Bob Ross paint. This is just happens to be the oil paint that I've got on hand. You can use the cheapest oil paint you can find. Artist paint, not like house paint. It might work though. I don't know. You're not going to need house paint. Don't buy house paint for this. Just buy some cheap art paint. I'm making a purple wash to go in the recesses. This is going to help mask some mistakes that I made from the masking. Odorless mineral spirits. I think they're called white spirits in some countries. But yeah, use that to thin the paint out. The oil paint, that is. Also keep in mind with mineral spirits, this stuff is toxic. They're fumes, basically. If you've been airbrushing, I assume you've got some sort of air filtration. Turn it on when you're using this stuff. And you can go pretty nuts with it. I was kind of concerned at first. I've watched a lot of videos where guys paint miniatures and use oil washes. I've never done it before, because I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. There was absolutely no reaction with the acrylic paint that I put on. It made me so happy. You can let that dry. I'm not really. I'm just using a little bit of paper towel and mineral spirits to wipe off the excess. You can do this right after. You can wait 3 days or a week or 2 weeks. I will say that if you're going to be really aggressive as far as as far as wiping this down, I would go with a clear varnish before I put this on. I didn't have any issues with paint, acrylic paint coming off. But yeah, if you're really scrubbing with a paper towel, I could see that being an issue. And I go over everything. I don't show it because, again, I'm not trying to make a 2-hour-long video, I don't think. But yeah, just wipe off the excess with a paper towel and a Q-tip. Oil washes work great. I think I'm going to use them a lot more often from now on. now that I'm no longer afraid of them. And oil paint's pretty inexpensive. Okay, here's the base. I'm just going over this with a black. End up going over the whole surface. There's nothing fancy about this part of the base, at least. Here, this is what Psylocke stands on. I'm just kind of hitting the shadows with a black. I don't go in depth as far as showing you how to paint this. This is another part of the base. It's a lantern. Basically, I'm going to show you how to do all the stonework on this lantern. So after the black base is down, I'm just putting down a dark gray base tone. I do that for the rock on the part of the base that's a rock also. Like here, for instance. I hit everything that's not meant to be grass or moss or whatever this is. Good job, bees. There would have been worse parts to drop though, so it's fine. Again, just kind of blocking in everything here. This is a plant that's on the base. I just went with a single green color. I didn't film most of this. And there are some, I guess, cherry blossom petals or something on the lantern and the base. I went over that with white, and then went over that with pink, not purple. But yeah, just covering everything with pink here. Pretty simple, nothing too crazy. And I'm taking some black and blocking out the area around those cherry blossoms where I got a bunch of overspray. Doing the same here with a greenish brown color that I'm going with for the majority of this base. Just thinning it out. Nothing too crazy. A lot of wet blending here. It's a good place to practice wet blending. Nothing super important going on. And as far as the color goes, like I said, it's kind of a greenish brown. There's not a specific paint I can tell you that it is because it's a random amalgamation of craft paints. Here for the stones, going with a black, just adding white. Everything's pretty thin. Wet blending everything. And again, this is a great place to practice wet blending. Nothing super important. Any flaws are easily hidden. And this technique is what I did for the rock on the base. It's the same thing. Like I said, I'm not going to show you every single step of the paint job. We would be here forever. Yeah, just adding white in random places and blending that in, but not too much. I think I actually do leave a few spots dark gray also. You can kind of tackle this however you want. You go with a lot of dry brushing or whatever. Wet blending is what I've gone with. Looks pretty good after it's dry. Fairly realistic granite. You could also speckle this if you want, but I got tired of painting this, so I did not. That was my initial plan though. Okay, now I am getting back to my roots as a wargamer. I'm adding flocking to this base. Static grass, a little reindeer moss. I'm not going too crazy. I do end up adding some like brush bristles a little later. I don't film that, sorry. But you don't need to. You don't need to do this at all. I've not mentioned it, but this white stuff I'm painting on is glue. It's PVA. It's Elmer's glue. It's going to dry clear, but I'm trying to get a fairly dense coat of this on before it starts to dry. Not going for an even coat, trying to keep it sort of random. It's what's going to hold the static grass in place. And I don't want that to look manufactured. I want it to look as natural as I can get it to look. So sort of random, kind of all over, but not quite. Static grass isn't going to stick everywhere, just in the places where the glue is heaviest. And again, this is not something you need to do. I'm doing it because I've got static grass, I've got an applicator. But yeah, don't feel the need. I think it would look great without this. This is my Frankenstein static grass applicator I made a while ago. This thing will shock the shit out of you, so be careful. If you buy one, it's probably not going to be as powerful as this one. At least if you buy a cheap one. I made this one and it's got some balls to it. It's basically a taser. Pretty low level taser, but a taser. It sucks getting hit with this. This is a 6mm static grass. And again, the glue dries clear, so it will look better than this when it's dry. Kind of go ahead and put everything in place that I need to. And I'm going to come in with a little extra PVA glue and some reindeer moss and some foam. Adding a little more variation to the base. You can get this stuff at a craft store. It's pretty cheap. You can find it in the wild. And in that case, it's free. Lasts a really long time. I've had this stuff for years. And I'm just placing this randomly. And that's it. There's a water piece that I did not show because I didn't do anything to it aside from print it and clean it up. I did paint a clear coat over it to get rid of some of the fogging. Also, there's a sword that I did not show, but you know how to paint, I assume. Maybe not. Maybe that's why you're watching a painting tutorial video. In that case, sorry. I didn't show the sword. But yes, that is Psylocke. It's a print from Abe 3D. Puts out a lot of good stuff. Oh, Rob Likes to Paint gave me a shout out in a video. Kind of put a fire under my ass to get this video out, so thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. If you're here from his channel, thanks for the subscription. And if you are not here from his channel, maybe subscribe to Rob Likes to Paint. Pretty good, pretty prolific. He's made quite a few videos. Most of them are shorter than most of mine, so that's good in a lot of cases. He's a bit more succinct and to the point than I am. Anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe. There's a not safe for work version of this model also. I forgot to mention that. I've got some pictures of that on my Instagram if you want to check it out. And I think that's all I've got to say. Thanks for watching. I'll make a video next time. See ya.